Okay, here we are at the bottom of page 3. We're in section 4.1, page 3, the bottom of the notes. And the instructions, which are now out of sight on the screen, but up at the top of the page, it said graph each linear equation by finding at least 5 solutions. And again, just to recap, eventually we'll do away with this table and go towards instant graphing, where we can just look at this equation because it's in our friend version here. It's in our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and be able to, within just a few seconds, be at the graph and draw the line. Okay? But for now, till we get really confident and comfortable with what it is we're actually doing, okay, the relationship between the equation and the line that shows up on the graph, we're going to use what we call the table of values method. And that's where you are going to pick some x values, plug them in for y. Okay, so you pick the x's. I would recommend 2 negatives, 0, and 2 positives. Okay, keep them small, keep them simple, and if you need to, be strategic about your picks. And here's where we get to do that this time. Notice that nothing's being added or subtracted. It's like we have y equals mx plus b, but our b value is 0. Okay? So it's just being multiplied by the 1/4. But there's that catch. It's being multiplied by a fraction. When I plug in my x values, I want to be able to easily multiply by that 1/4. So I have to multiply by 1/4, or you can think of it as I'm going to be dividing by 4. That's the same thing. Multiplying by a fraction is the same as dividing by the reciprocal, or however you want to think about that. So 1/4 is the same as dividing by 4. So I'm going to pick something very strategic, something that 4 will go into evenly. So I'm going to pick -8 and -4 as my 2 negative values. They're the smallest ones that 4 will go into evenly. 0 will always work. That's a good choice. And then I'm going to pick +4 and +8 as my other 2 numbers here. -8, -4, 0, +4, +8. Again, because 4 and 8 are the smallest positive numbers that 4 will go into evenly. And it just is a strategic pick so that I can easily get to my answer for y. So we've got y equals 1/4 x. So to find my y, it's going to equal 1/4 whatever times whatever my x is. 1/4 times whatever my x is. My y equals 1/4 whatever my x is. 1/4 times whatever my x is. Y equals 1/4 whatever my x is. Okay, so I'm going to plug these in. I'm going to plug in -8. And 1/4 of -8 is going to give me -2. So my first point is going to be -8, -2. Then I'm going to plug in -4. And when I do 1/4 times -4, I'm going to get a -1. So my second point is a -4, -1. I plug in -4, I get -1 out. -4 in for x, -1 for y is what creates a true statement. Again, the line represents the entire set of all possible solutions, x, y, that will work in this equation. So these are just example points to help me see the whole line. These are just strategically picked, because I picked the x values. I'm going to plug them in to find the y value, and then I get my set of points. So I'm plugging in 0 for x. 1/4 times 0 is just 0, so I get the point 0, 0. Next, I'll plug in +4. 1/4 times 4 is 1, and I get the point 4, 1. Remember, order matters, so be careful. It's always your x and your y. This is your x, this is your y. And then finally, I plug in +8. 1/4 times 8 is 2, and so I have the point 8, 2. And now I'm ready to connect these and see what I get in terms of a line. So here is my coordinate grid. They're kind of darker, these axes on the paper, but I'm just going to emphasize it with the arrows here. X, positive and negative. Here's our y-axis, positive and negative. It's good to get in the habit of that, x and y, just labeling them. It's just going to really help solidify your knowledge. If you write it out every single time you use it, put in all the information, only takes a few extra seconds, but it's really getting it strong and solidified in your brain. Okay, let's look at these points. -8, -2, so I'm going to go to the left 8, 2, 4, 6. Oh, I'm kind of off the grid here. Sorry about that. But down 2, so there's my first point, -8, -2. My next point is at -4, -1, so I go to the left 4 and down 1. So there we are, -4, -1. My next point is at 0, 0. I don't go anywhere left to right, don't go anywhere up or down, so I stay right at the origin. Next point is 4, 1, so 4 to the right and up 1, both positive. 4, 1 is the point there. 8, 2, again off the grid a little bit. 2, 4, 6, just off. 8, 2 there. And what I've created here, and the reason why we do 5 different points, just in case there was an arithmetic error, I can expect a straight line. So if I end up with a point down here like at 4, -1 or 4, -7 or something, I know, ooh, I made an arithmetic error. I do enough points until I can confidently draw in that line here. Okay, and so this is our line. And again, you extend the line through the points and add those arrow tips to really show all the possible solutions to this equation. Okay, because every single point on this line that goes forever, left to right, it goes forever. That's why I show those arrows. Every single little point that you could land on that line has coordinates x, y, where if you put in the x into the equation, you would get that y value out. It would make that equation true. Okay, one for you to try. Again, we're practicing the table method here in 4.1. So I want you to practice it. It helps solidify the relationship between the points on the line, solutions to the equation. We are going to abandon this as we move on, and we're going to come up with faster and then eventually this instant graphing ability. But for now, try this one, number 66. Hit pause, come back to check your line. Okay, so whatever points you picked, depending on the points, might differ in the actual dots on your graph than mine, but the line should look the same. You should be at one point, might be at 0, -2 here. Another point, if you picked maybe -2 to go in, it would be at -2, +4. I guess I should draw on the axes to make it really clear on the screen here. Here's our x-axis. Here's our y-axis. If you were at -1, +1, +1 would put you at -5. +2 put you at -8. So that drops us below here. Okay, so something that kind of looks like that. I guess I'll connect it with a little bit different color here to make it easier to see. The more points you have, the more convincing you can be about which direction your line is going. But again, we're just building our skills right now. We'll get to the point where we really only need 2 points to draw a straight line. Okay, that takes care of page 3. We'll see you on page 4. Good job.